All right, I'd at least like to go through the next section in here. I added a couple more movies. They're pretty much the ones that they put in the handout. I didn't have the dates available, so I just made them up. All right, I don't think it's a big thing one way or the other, but you'll notice now there's about a half dozen movies in here, and the movies are in 1, 2, 3 different genres. In other words, there are comedy movies, there are action movies, and there are westerns. What we're supposed to do in the next part of this is to provide a search feature so people can search in different ways. All right? They can search by genre, and they'll be able to just do a regular search. And if you don't know what I mean, you will when we get done. So it says there, in this section, we'll add a search capability to the index method that allows you to search by genre or by name. So if you notice here, they ask you to add these movies. It's no big thing. Again, I added the 2 Ghostbusters. I didn't add the Planet of the Apes. It doesn't matter. But the idea is what we'll want to be able to do in a couple minutes is to either type in a name like Ghostbusters, and it should find Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, or we should be able to type in a genre like comedy, and it should find all of our comedy movies. All right? So it says we want to start here by updating the index action method of our controllers class. Before we do that, let's take a look and see what it looks like right now. All right. So again, we are supposed to come over to our movies controller class and find the index action method. So our movies controller class, here's the index action method right there. All it does right now is it's telling us, show us the movies. That's it. It's not doing anything else. But what it says here is we're supposed to change that. Look at how we're changing it. Okay? It's expecting there to be a string put in. All right? Please look up on the screen here. You've not probably seen this before. All right? It looks kind of like SQL, but it's sort of like SQL on its head. This is a link statement. Link is something, to my knowledge, is unique to Microsoft. All right? And you're like, why didn't they just use SQL? SQL is only used with databases. You can use link with anything. I can have an array and I can write queries against the array using link. All right? You can't do that with regular SQL. So they want us to pass in a string, and then movies are going to be equal to whatever it is we're searching for. So I'm going to grab this code here, all of it, copy it to the clipboard, go back to here, and replace this, which is what I have in there now. I'm going to replace it with this. So again, it's giving me an error too, which isn't good, but we'll see if we can fix that in just a minute. All right. It says the name does not exist in this context. So I click here and it says we want to add using system. All right. I think that's one I removed before. So using system is now back. My error is now gone. All right. I gave you a high-level overview of what this is doing. All right. But they explain it in much more depth and breadth of coverage, much better than I just did here on page 75. All right. The other thing, if you look up on the screen here, these are terms you're going to have to know for next semester. All right. This line that you see right there that's in blue, it says movies equal movies dot where, and it's got S followed by an equal sign, followed by a greater than sign. That's what's referred to as a lambda expression. L-A-M-B-D-A. Lambda expressions, you can use them all over the place. We didn't get into that much depth and breadth of coverage in JavaScript. You can use lambdas in JavaScript. All right? You can use them in straight C#, having nothing to do with ASP.NET. You can use them in Java. All right? What it's basically saying is run this right here and put the results in here. All right? So in other words, what we want to do is we want to find everything that contains that search string, and we want to put it into S. And that's what they mention here. So if you want more about Lambda expressions, you can click that link. If you want more about LINQ, you can click that link. All right? So with that stuff put in there, let's do a file and a save all, and then let's run this again. I don't think I've got it. I do have a run there. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to run this again. So from movies, I'm just going to run the index, view in browser. All right, and it says we should put in something like this. This should show me all 6 movies that I currently have in the database. Should be up there in just a second. There they are. Now, if I come in here and after the word movies, I get rid of that /index and I put in question mark, search string equals ghost. Look what happened. I have now implemented a search capability. That's the good news. The bad news is, in order to get that to work, I had to type in this. You see where that might be a pain in the butt for an end user to have to type in question mark, search string equals, followed by something. So it works, but we're about to make it work better. All right, in just a minute. I just wanted you to see that it does work. If I change this and I type in A and I hit enter, that's any movie with an A in it. There's an A in Harry, there's an A in Avengers, an A in Bravo, an A in Bravo. Neither Ghostbuster movie is in there because neither one of them has an A in it. All right? And again, they said this is what the method originally looked like. Okay? Here's the changes that we made to it. It says if you change the signature, all right, it'll have to work. All right. Now, we're told to go in and make one more change. Okay? Right now, as I just showed you with this, that's a pain in the butt to have to do this. We don't want to have to do that. So we're going to make another change to our file. All right? We're going to take and change this stuff right here that you see. So let me add it. So instead of saying public action result index search string, we're getting rid of that. So I'm going to comment that out. All right? And we're also adding this. Okay? The ID that we pass in is now going to be called search string. And again, you might say, fine, dandy. What just happened? What happened right there? What are we able to do right now that we couldn't do a couple minutes ago? So I'm going to run it again and try to show you that. Again, you just saw this. This is what we ran. We had to add question mark, search string equals, and then ghost. All right? We're going to change that right now. All right. So now instead of saying movies question mark search string equal ghost, I'm going to say movies slash, and I'm going to put ghost in there. Thought I did it right. Maybe I didn't. Let's check. Movies index ghost. Sorry. All right. Now I've got a better search feature. If you look up on the screen here, what we originally had to type in was this. Now we've changed it to this. It's a little easier for you and I to read that, especially an end user would probably, your end user, my guess at least, would be that your end user would have an easier time with this one than she or he would have with that one. But it still could be better. So we're going to make it even better than it was. All right, what does that mean? Just watch. It says you still can't expect users to modify the URL every time they come in there. All right? So they want us to change it back to the way it was to begin with. In other words, this and this, and we're going to change the view. So I'm going to grab all of this, copy it to the clipboard, go back to where I was here, change it back. So it's right there. All right. But now, as they mention here on this handout, and I'm on page 78, they want us to open up the index view for movies. It says just after the create link, add this. All right. So just after the create link, I know that's down near the bottom. No, not that far down. There. They want us to add this. All right. And again, I'll show you what it is, but as I mentioned before, it's much, much easier for you to actually see the run of this and figure out what's happening in there. So let me save this and let me run it again. Okay, look on the screen. Do you see what we have now? We have a dialog box. That's what we just added. So if I want to check, for example, for any title that has the word Bravo in it, I click inside of the box. It's case insensitive. I type in Bravo. I click filter, and you can see what I have. All right? So what we're doing is we're providing search capability. The only thing, though, that we can search on right now, the only thing that we can actually search on is a title. Okay? So in other words, if I put Western in here, and I click filter, it doesn't show anything because there isn't a movie with the title Western in it. All right? And again, they explain it in a little more depth and breadth of coverage than I just did. They have you come in here and put in Ghost. I put in Bravo. Same idea. And then it says, I'm up to page 81. It says, however, even if you add this, there's a limitation. All right? It could still be made better, is what the author is saying. All right? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to come in here and change this begin form thing so that it looks like this. You say, I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about. They're saying this begin form that we have in here, wherever the heck it is, there it is. They want us to change that to this. What does that mean? That means it allows us to do things we couldn't do otherwise. All right? It says now when you submit a search, the query contains a search string. So we can go back if we want to and do this. You might say, well, you just told us we wouldn't want to do this. You may not want to do it, but now you have the ability to do it if you so desire. All right, one more thing to add here. They want us to be able to search by genre. So as I showed you before, what we want to be able to do is when you run it, we want to be able to put in, we're going to have another box. We got the box for title. We're going to have another box for genre. So if I type in comedy, it'll show me all the comedy movies. All right. It says replace the index method with the following code. All right, and it doesn't like something. All right, so that looks like it's everything. I'm going to just immediately run this after making that change so you can see what it now looks like. All right, right now, I guess it doesn't look any different. So we're not done. It says this version is going to take an additional parameter named movie genre. All right. The reason it's not working is we still have to change a few more lines of code. All right. So we're going to now be able to come in and check for the genre. It says we've got to go into our index file, and just before the text box helper, we've got to add some stuff. You know what? I'm just going to grab, let's see, right before that genre, we want to add that one line of code. All right. So we added this line of code right there. All right. Notice it's a drop-down list. If you say, so what? Watch. Let's run it again. We'll run it from the index method of our movies controller. Now notice, okay, I don't know how I don't have a thing there that says genre, but I don't. See this? Now I can search for all films, just action films, just comedies, just westerns. So if I go to comedy and I filter, notice I only have comedies. If I only want a comedy that's got the letter O in it, because notice when Harry Met Sally does not, I can check for two things. All right. So again, what's new is we just added this genre drop-down. Trying to figure out why I don't have this. I think it should have said genre here. Now I put the word genre in there. So now you can search by genre. You can also search by title. All right? And again, they explain exactly what's happening in here. So what I showed you, I put in comedy, they put in action. But it works the same way. All right? All right, the next thing they talk about in here, let's start on this, we'll go a ways, is how we can add a new field. Okay? And in this section, we're going to learn something new. So even if you're not really paying attention, please watch when we do this, because you're going to have to know how to do this next semester. So again, once you've seen it once, hopefully it'll make it easier for you to work with. All right? And it's kind of funny because the first thing they want us to do is to remove the database. All right? So the first thing they ask us to do is to come in here and remove the database. I still don't see that in mine, which I don't understand. And when I click Show All Files, there it is, under App Data. So I want to right mouse click on it and choose Delete. I have no more database. Then they ask us to save this and to just do a build to make sure that it still builds clean. Kind of hard for you to see, but it says it succeeded. All right? So we did that. What we have done in the past, again, like I said, even if you're not really paying attention, I want you to see this. So please look at this. What we've done in the past is this. We've right mouse clicked on the name of our project, chose Manage NuGet Packages. That's how you can add packages or delete packages. That's the best way of doing it. We don't want to do that now. We want to run commands against the database. So to do that, we've got to do it differently. Here we have to check Tools and go down to NuGet Package Manager, and I'm going to choose Package Manager Console. Please look down here. We're going to be running this almost from a DOS-looking interface. All right? So I did Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console, and there it is. It says PM, which stands for Package Manager. All right? So that's what we just did. That's how you do it. I showed it to you. Okay? The first thing we want to do, so we're going to put a bunch of commands in here. So the first command that we're going to put in is this. This is what I want you to look at. Notice, weird syntax. Enable hyphen migrations space hyphen context type name space MVC movie models dot movie context. All right. If it works when you run this, if it turns yellow, that's good. If it turns red, you had an error. All right. This is telling us we want to perform a migration. All right. So what will happen if this works is I'm going to have a new folder over here. So I'm going to close all the folders I have open. And you can see that these folders are in alphabetic order. I think everybody would agree if you look up here, there is not a folder right now called migrations. There's not. If this command works, there will be one in just a minute. So again, the command is enable hyphen migration space minus context type name space MVC movie dot models dot movie DB context. I hit enter. It's thinking about it. Okay. I didn't get yellow. I didn't get anything. But I got my prompt back. And notice I now have a new folder. That new folder is called migrations. And it's got a file in it called configuration.cs. That configuration file has a method in it that's called seed. That's where you can manually add your own database data. That's what I'm going to do in just a minute. All right, it's called seeding the database. So I'm going to seed the database in just a minute. All right, so we did the enable migrations. You saw that there was the configuration file. It says replace the seed method with this code. Does this look familiar? When Harry met Sally, etc. See that? So we're adding our own data into this seed method. So I'm just going to grab everything that they show there. Copy it to the clipboard. All right, didn't like that. This is the problem when you try to copy from a PDF. It doesn't always like it. So copy. I'm going to come over here into my code, go into the seed method, take everything that's in there, comment it out, and replace it with my own stuff. All right. Now I know this happened to me before that I got this error message. Okay, so I click again on here and it says I have to type in using MVC.movie.models. I click there and the errors are all gone. All right, so we are manually right now, we are manually coming in. I think I'm missing a curly brace. We are manually coming in and adding the database information ourselves. And you might say, whatever, why the heck would you even want to do that? The point is that you can do that. So if somebody else has that, if some data entry person has put all that data into a file, you can copy it in there like this. All right. Now, we didn't get an error. Okay. That's good news. Why? Because when I did it the first time, I got an error. Okay, and I didn't get one today, so that's good. It says code first migrations calls the seed method after every migration. That is, after every time we do a command to calling update space database. All right, which is, I believe, what we're going to have to do next. Double check. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. We put that in. We didn't have to hover over that. I guess we did, and we added the using statement. All right. Seed method. Okay. Notice there's a method in here called add or update. Add or update does a special operation called upsert. What the heck does that mean? That means you use the same method for both inserting and updating. Do you hear me? That's all it means. All right, now we're supposed to do a Control-Shift-B and build the project. So I come back to the project. Click in here, I do a Control Shift and the letter B. It's now building it. Okay. If I get any errors, it'll tell me. I don't think I have any. In the package manager console command, we want to add migration initial to create the initial migration. All right, so I'm going to come back into here. Add migration initial, hit enter. You'll notice now it did turn yellow. I mentioned yellow's good. And what it did, if you look up on the screen, please, is now in my migrations folder, I now have a file for that migration I just made. It's timestamped. So it's got today's date and time on it, followed by the name I gave it, which was migration. I called it initial. So it's got the word initial in there. Now, to actually get our database, we've got to put in one more command to create the database and actually run that seed method. Update-database. All right. So I want to come back in here. Update-database, hit enter. If I get my prompt back, it says it cannot attach it. As database ASP.NET, not sure what the problem is, but I did run into this once before. All right. And I think what I had to do is I had to add another migration. So I'll add one and I'll call it add migration initial 2. Okay, doesn't like that either. It says the other one is pending. Cannot attach. Well, it doesn't like something. I'll have to go back and take a look at it. All right. In fact, we're on page 98. It says if you get an error that the table already exists and can't be created, it's probably because you ran the database before you executed the update database. In that case, delete it and try it again. All right. Doesn't look like that was the problem. I'll have to try to figure out what the problem is. And I'll tell you what, we'll just stop it right here. We only have about 20 pages left. But ideally, when we get done, if I can get this to work, this is what it's going to look like. And it's going to have, these are the records that we put into that seed method. All right. So we should be able to finish this up tomorrow, probably in an hour or so. I'm going to try to fix this. And then, like I said, tomorrow when I get done, I'll put it on a flash drive. And if you want it, fine. And if you don't want it, that's also fine. All right. So that'll be it for today then.